Good evening, Girisan, and welcome to D2, our initiative in partnership with Doceree to bring CEOs to share with us their insights as well as their experience of what it has been to go digital. So wonderful to have you. Wonderful to have you had on the 1st of March at the JW Marriott in Mumbai, physically present, and now you are on the digital platform. So in a way, we have also evolved and become a hybrid in the true sense of the word, that we are doing online recordings with the CEOs, and then we are having the physical CEOs. Just to give you a perspective of this enormous advantage of hybrid is that earlier our Pharma CEO Roundtable, you were one of the first ones to attend in 2012 itself. You've seen that the maximum capacity was 110, 120 because that's the capacity of the room. But now our CEO Roundtable has reached 10,000 people already because of the hybrid format. So that's a great advantage.
Wonderful, Anup. Thanks a lot, and pleasure to be part of this whole journey in terms of the digital transformation for the healthcare industry. Thank you, and I appreciate the contributions of you as well as MedicinMan and Doceree in this journey.
Thank you. Thank you. So here's the first question to you, Girisan. How has the digital transformation journey been for Menarini in the years after the pandemic?
Wow, that's an interesting question, and primarily because it's been not only a very interesting journey, but also a very learning opportunity for the organization as a whole, and for me in specific also. If you look at Menarini's history as an organization, we were more SFE driven in the past, and saying that we have focusing on the field force effectiveness and efficiency, and therefore it was all about SFE metrics, FFOE metrics, and stuff like that. And hence the digital transformation journey has been slow and steady as far as Menarini as an organization is concerned. What we did was we were pretty clear in terms of the basics, what we need to focus on. And what we had adopted was a 5C model, as we've talked internally, talking and focusing on the 5 Cs, which basically talks of consent, content, channel, culture, and capabilities. And therefore, that's what we need to, and the whole issue of building the organization by focusing on these 5 things, which includes customer insights. So it's consent, content, channel, customer insights, and culture and capabilities. And we felt that slowly and steadily, we need to work on all this as we move out in the journey of the digital transformation. And hence, from a consent point of view, we said, okay, first let's focus on the physicians whom we are targeting, and then slowly started expanding to physicians who are not being met by the field force, and getting consent not only for just an email or a message, but also all the future activities which would be getting in terms of using that data, in terms of analytics, AI, and all those things. So it's a holistic consent obtaining is what we were keeping focus on. And I think we have made a great progress as far as the physicians whom we are meeting, and to a decent extent on the physicians whom we are not meeting. So there is an increased coverage which we can do based on this. In terms of content, we started off with individual components, whether it's an PDF or an e-detail aid and stuff like that. So it was individual components we were focusing on. And we're slowly moving over to a modular content. We are in the phase of getting into a full-fledged modular content repository, which then the brand managers can pick and choose individual components and create their own modular content and send it across. We also initiated certain stuff where the rep can themselves do it, in terms of picking up from the repository and creating customized content and sharing it with the customized channel which their doctors prefer. So we're not full-fledged there, but a couple of brands, we have got that whole modular content. And I think that's a journey which we need to move ahead, and we're eagerly looking forward towards that. In terms of channel, very strong as far as multi-channel is concerned. They've been attacking the customer from all angles. And we now moving into the omni-channel space by creating a orchestrated customer engagement platform and trying to see how we can get onto an omni-channel. So that's the journey which we are in at this point in time. And all these things clearly focusing on culture and capabilities, because as I said, we were more a field force driven organization, and hence we felt that the culture needs to be very much embedded, saying that how do we leverage digital And at no point in time, there should be a threat for the field force saying, is it going to replace me? So we're very sensitive in terms of ensuring digital is going to amplify whatever we are doing and give us much better results of what we are currently doing. And hence, the whole culture from the organization saying right from the top that digital is a priority, and not just for sales and marketing, but across all cross functions, including finance, distribution, quality assurance, medical. So it was saying that, okay, across the organization, we need to, and that becomes an organization priority. And therefore, it clearly sets tone of how do we leverage on it. And also in terms of capabilities. So in not only just getting a digital manager or an e-commerce specialist, we also now moved ahead in terms of getting resources, saying that there needs to be a data analyst and a data scientist. So while we touch upon the data mining part of it, so specifically, it's over a period of time we have been adding resources, and slowly and steadily as we get the data, then we are saying, oh, we need people to manage the data, analyze the data and stuff. So I think there's been a slow and steady progress, but looking back, I think it's been a wonderful journey where we have reached that, but there's lots of ground to cover as we move forward.
Great, that's really wonderful to hear. And it should not only inspire people to adopt digital, but you have actually given a framework by which they can actually implement digital in their company. And I really like that you began with consent, because otherwise, we are just barging into or interruptive marketing, but you are taking consent so that they know that this company will be interacting with me. And then you're also taking important things like customer insights so that you can customize the content that you can, and more importantly, you're even allowing the product managers or even the medical reps to customize the content from the repository that you're creating so that it is personalized and of relevance to the doctor who's receiving it. And I really like that you brought the point of culture, because our mentor, Mr. Hariram, likes to say that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so unless there is a change management initiative, which a digital transformation is actually the change management initiative that has to be driven so wide across the company. And you rightly brought that it's not just sales and marketing, but all the other functions as well, who otherwise tend to exist in silos. So that was a wonderful answer from you. Thank you so much, Girisan. That itself had a lot of meat in it. Now, customer engagement has always been a focus for pharma. It'd be great if you can share some specific examples of how digital helped you engage with your customers. Would you have been otherwise, that would have been otherwise difficult to do in an offline world? Offline world has got so many limitations, but it has got the wonderful aspect of one-on-one, but digital helps you to engage with customer in many different ways, through, as you rightly said, through different channels, to personalization of content, giving the authority to the brand managers or even the field reps. So how would you look at customer engagement and Indian pharma?
Yeah, so I'll touch upon two examples, one based on the business model of Menarini, and the other one in terms of how we are engaging the customers, primarily focusing on the HCPs, to just give you an example. So one from Menarini, the business model, unlike other MNCs which focus on their research and discovery pipelines, with Menarini, we also have, in addition to our own R&D pipeline, we also heavily depend on partnered products. And therefore, there are in-licensing brands which actually contribute to our revenue. If you look at before this whole digital wave was coming in, when we approach a partner for in-licensing, they used to always ask us, what's your coverage and what's your reach? And that was primarily dependent on the number of reps we had. And therefore, we were not able to compete with the people who had a larger field force. And now when it comes to digital, we are very much capable to match or even outbeat people who are having a higher field force. So the whole competitive advantage of an organization to partner with it's leveled the field digital. And that's been a significant plus for us, unlike other companies. So that's been a great advantage, and all the more important for us to focus on digital and then see how we can establish. So of course, we need to have the consent and the data in terms of sharing. So if we are able to demonstrate, we are able to have an equal frequency, even better, equal coverage, even better frequency. And even through data demonstrate that we are engaging our customers better, whether we're meeting them in person or in digital. It's been helping us to build the whole proposition and leveling the field. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages which we have taken to our advantage. I'm not saying that you need to reduce the field force, but I'm saying as an organization, we took it to our advantage in terms of leveling the field and building on. And so here the customer becomes the in-licensed partner, and it becomes an advantage for us in terms of, so that's one specific example how we could not have done this if it was in an offline world. So that's one example which is probably very specific to Menarini or the business model we have. The second is in terms of, as you rightly said at the beginning, the advantage of the hybrid model in terms of the reps. And as I've always been saying, Menarini is very much field force centered. And therefore, right from the beginning, we were very clear that in whatever digital activities we are doing, there is an active role of the field force. And hence, this whole digital transformation can help in amplifying the results. So what we've done is for certain brands, we have designed customer journeys, which specifically has a series of messages through different customized channels. And in that, there is the rep fitted in. So he exactly knows what is the touch point before I have visited, which this customer is engaged on. And he's able to discuss in connection with that. So if there is an email opened, then he knows, okay, the email is opened, and therefore the discussion happens in relation to that. If the doctor has downloaded some content, then he knows, okay, that's the content which is downloaded, and therefore he can discuss whatever reprints he has in relation with that particular topic. So the rep finds the interactions being more meaningful and different from call to call. And therefore he or she is able to understand that this is helping me. Earlier, my interactions with the doctor was quite monotonous. I have for a brand, if the doctor is prescribing X, then I got a set of points to make. If he's prescribing Y, I got a set of points to make. Whereas now, while those messagings are there is something more meaningful. And he also understands that in between my two calls, the doctor is reminded of the call through another digital initiative. So it's increasing the frequency. So the whole rep's confidence in this whole digital space and the digital enabling him to be more productive is something which we're not fully there, but there's been a great progress which we are making, and that's what our entire focus is on. And so we believe that it's helped in improving the efficiency, or the rep is believing that it's helping to improve the frequency, and it's helping him or her to make the interactions more meaningful. So these are two examples from a partnership as well as from a rep's role in the space of digital.
Great. We could have two better examples where in one case you're saying you're moving from the feet on street concept, which would deter partners to give you the license because the number of feet on street were less compared to others. That barrier is removed now because your digital reach has more than amplified what your feet on street could have done. And secondly, you are saying that between calls, there is a digital engagement that happens so that when the rep visits again, he finds that the doctor is already been in the loop for so many things, and therefore he's there for a meaningful engagement rather than just a brand reminder. Great examples, and I'm sure that it can be beneficial to our audiences. So measuring effectiveness of engaging customers online has been a learning process for the industry. We're always interested about ROI. So yes. How has your team at Menarini learned? Have you adopted any best practices from other industries?
Yeah, ROI has been something always a challenge, but fortunately, what we have is we have got a leadership which clearly says, okay, there are digital initiatives there, and you just can't really measure how many prescriptions you have got or what is the X amount of sales you've got, but you will have to customize your KPIs towards what activities you're doing and then see how that moves on. So that's probably some amount of comfort which you have got in terms of the leadership, understanding of how the digital works. And what we've been focusing on is in terms of the whole data analytics, and the examples from other industries. I think the other industries are doing extremely well, whether it's Amazon or Netflix, where they're integrating the whole data from an analytics point of view and not just focusing on the descriptive or the diagnostic analytics, but also moving into predictive and prospective analysis to look at what needs to be done from whatever we currently have. And so that's something which, while we have learned, we've still not got into the predictive and prospective space. We are more still now in the descriptive and diagnostic, but I'm sure that's something which we need to adopt and move forward. And recently, when I was discussing with our digital head, he was saying they're now moved into something called as cognitive, where they're looking at AI and chat GPT, and then looking at a completely different way of analysis and taking it to a completely different level. So yeah, there's good examples of other industries, but I think we are currently looking at what is the descriptive saying, more looking at what has happened. I've sent an email, this many clicks are there, this many openers there, and we are looking at more as what has happened. And to some extent, we are looking at why did it happen from a diagnostic point of view. But we need to definitely move ahead as an organization in terms of what is likely to happen from a predictive, and then looking at how do we modify and what should we do so that we get the desired action from the customer and stuff. So yeah, so while we have learned, we're more focusing on the data analytics part of it at this point in time, where we have learned from the other industries and trying to move towards that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think data science, data analytics will be a must-have skill for the pharma marketing and sales professionals in the future. And you've given the best examples of Amazon as to once you buy something from them, the recommendation that comes are so inducing that it's very difficult to say no to them. But not that this was not happening in the physical world as well. I remember as a medical rep, when I used to travel to different territories, there were some great waiters in those hotels, and who would just bring the stuff that I needed or I preferred without even my asking, because they knew which rep was a masala dosa rep and which rep was a idli vada rep and which rep was a onion uttappam. So we didn't even have to order. We just went and sat there, and the dishes would come. So all what we are doing now is that human behavior, which is predictive. If you observe human behavior, you can predict what kind of behavior will be there in the future, because we always say that the past behavior is an indicator of a future behavior or a future preference. So all we are doing is that using the digital medium to see where the customer is going and how often he's going, and how we can use it to our advantage and benefit by making the engagement more relevant to the HCPs. Finally, last question, Girisan, you are one of the few people privileged to be at the launch event of the what we call as the I2P Intent to Prescribe, and you are also part of the team that received the first copy of the I2P report, which has got an equation to measure whether your digital campaign is doing okay, whether it's doing average, or whether it's outstanding. So any thoughts on the report, and how can we, that is MedicinMan and Doceree, support the industry more with the D2 campaign?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for that invite for the launch event. And it was wonderful, especially the whole document which is made in terms of the I2P. The key, what I thought was it has got the relevant markers and has got the right weightage for each marker. One is having the marker and then also ensuring that it's got the right weightage. I think it's very well crafted, and it's also a simple formula for people to implement it, which would clearly give what is the intent to prescribe. It's as close as getting into what could be the sale of the prescription generated. So I think it's not only helping to do or what you're not only just doing it, but it also helps in terms of trying to achieve outcomes. So overall, I think it's a great tool. What need to be done is from an industry point of view, as well as from your end, whether from a medicine and Doceree point of view, is to see how this can be more available to the actual users of brand managers, and therefore increasing the awareness that this is the tool which is there. And then probably companies which are using these tools to probably share some case studies of how they use this tool and how it has been resulting in terms of what the equation is, and also how in time you can't obviously credit the entire sale to that, but you can give some measures of how did you change, and without this tool, what were you doing, and what does this tool bring in terms of the change which you're doing, and thereby how is it helping you in terms of becoming a better marketer. So it's more of increasing the awareness of this tool, And also probably, I know there would be a lot of agencies which these companies would be working with in terms of the communication agencies which they are. So probably that also could be a space where we could increase the awareness of this, and it becomes an integral part of the digital marketing plans which the brand managers are doing. And definitely from the Menarini point of view, we've been discussing that, but I think as an organization, I mean, as an industry, we need to increase the awareness, and it's so simple to use. And yeah, I think it's a great initiative, and we need to now see how best we can make use of that.
Great. That's really wonderful to hear from you that here's a tool and you can always run a campaign and say how was the results before the tool and how has the tool helped us to better fine tune the program, because what can be measured can be managed. And so here's a tool that's a very simple tool, and I'm sure that the tool also will evolve as a lot of people use it, and you will get the data and the challenges that you face while using this tool. So I think that was wonderful talking to you, Girisan. Thank you so much for being part of this D2 campaign. And I look forward to continuing our conversation over the period of time. Thanks to Salil, who has been curating this session for the last 9 months and bringing together stalwarts to share their insights. And I especially want to thank you because, you know, whenever we post insights from C-suite leaders and CEOs, the brand managers really look up to it because they have very few interaction with senior leadership team, and therefore they are not aware whether I should do digital. If I do digital, what does my CEO think about it? So getting people like you on board is a wonderful way of helping them to know what are the CEO and the C-suite executives expecting from us when we go digital. So thanks again and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Anup, and pleasure talking to you, and look forward to meet you soon.